Husband not cleaning up after himself. Too long didn't read. Husband won't clean up after himself and it's making me hesitant to have children with him. My 24F husband, 25 meters, has always had trouble cleaning up after himself. We've been together for about 6 years. I'm not making excuses, but I know he's like this because he was spoiled as a child, and if he didn't clean, someone else eventually did it for him. We've been living together for about 4 years. His messiness has always been an issue. I refuse to clean up after his messes that aren't in a mutual area, e.a. kitchen, living room, etc. We both work full-time, so we both have the same amount of spare time at home. His is spent playing video games. This whole pandemic we have been lucky enough to work from home. But now he eats and drinks in his office, and just leaves trash everywhere. It gets to the point where all of the silverware gets left in that room and I can't find it, and drinks and food start smelling and growing mold. I've explained to him multiple times this makes me really hesitant to have children with him because I don't need to then clean up after him and the baby. I've communicated how it makes me feel multiple times and he keeps saying he will try harder and clean more. He will improve for maybe a week after a talk and then go back to old habits. It honestly just turns me off from him. Is this fixable? Any advice for how to get him to just stop being gross? I refuse to clean for him and it's driving me nuts. This isn't something I would end our marriage over, because he is fantastic in every other way, but it's getting to the point where I'm not sure if I want to have kids with him now, and that could end up being a marriage issue. Also, to add, he doesn't have any mental health issues or any conditions that would be the cause of being messy or that would prevent him from cleaning. You don't clean up his own spaces, but you do clean up all the shared spaces, so you are still cleaning up after him and he still has no consequences. He doesn't respect you, that's the real problem. Tell him that and ask him why he doesn't respect you. Tell him it turns you off of him and ask him why he doesn't care about your feelings or about being an equal partner in your shared home. Mommy used to clean for me isn't an excuse at his age. It's pathetic. Make a chores chart together with chores split between you for the shared spaces. Have assigned days and times those things need to be done. Put it somewhere very visible. Have a 15-minute tidy every day together after work or dinner where you clean your shared spaces together. If he doesn't hold up his end after all that, he definitely doesn't respect you. Give him the article "She Left Me Because I Left Dishes by the Sink" to read. Make a chores chart together with chores split between you for the shared spaces. Have assigned days and times those things need to be done. Put it somewhere very visible. I hate that this is a thing we have to tell women to do for grown-ass men. My parents did this for me and my siblings when we were kids. By the time we were double digits, we knew what was expected of us around the house. Honestly, anytime a partner requires someone else to lift them up to the bare minimum of adult functionality, that's a deal breaker. Date someone who is your partner, not your child. Give him an ultimatum: either he starts acting like an adult, or he can live alone in his own filth. Stop cleaning up his shit. Start refusing to clean up messes in mutual areas. There's too many mutual areas for you to say I'm only cleaning the shared spaces. I've tried this tactic before and it ended in the entire place becoming one huge garbage dump, just FYI. Honestly, I don't think there is any hope, specifically because you won't end the marriage over it and he knows it. Your unhappiness isn't enough of a reason for him to change, I guess. Thank you for all the comments, especially the tough love ones. I think I may be underreacting or acting like this isn't a big deal just because I've always been told I blow things up bigger than they need to be. We are sitting down tonight and talking about everything and how it's affecting me and our marriage. All of the articles suggested to read really helped put my feelings into words. Who tells you that you blow things up bigger than they need to be? Is it someone who benefits from you ignoring red flags and ignoring your boundaries? Boyfriend with super close girl BFF. might not be a very 21st century thing to say, and apologies if there have been loads of questions like this, but is there anyone out there who can help me? My boyfriend has a really close girl best friend of at least 15 years. He says nothing has ever happened between them. Yet there have been loads of times where he video calls her when I'm not in, and he tells her things he wouldn't tell me, and has told me that he feels more comfortable saying things to her than me. He's also been looking to her at times when our relationship has struggled, and she knows all of my insecurities, but my boyfriend doesn't ever talk to me about her or her insecurities. It's like he values her privacy but not mine. I know it should be okay for men and women to be friends and have close emotional relationships, but how do I deal with the fact they seem to be voice messaging loads? She lives in Australia, we're in the UK, and is married but seems to be really emotionally needy and always seems to ask for emotional attention from my boyfriend, who appears to be only too happy to oblige. She's also had a bit of resentment from other male friends' girlfriends with her behavior. She initially seemed nice, but I've stuck my foot in it with trying to get to know her. She thinks I'm jealous and controlling who he can be friends with. I really haven't meant that at all. Her name keeps popping up on my boyfriend's phone and it really bugs me. They send each other loads of voice messages. My boyfriend and I have talked a lot about things, and he reckons I should just trust him, that nothing is ever going to happen between them, and that he won't keep telling her about our relationship difficulties, my insecurities. I know I need to get over all of this. Does anyone have any advice? Too long didn't read. How do I deal with my boyfriend having a super close girl best friend? If he has close guy friends, he would be telling them things he might not necessarily be telling you. It's healthy for people to have somebody apart from their partner to discuss things with. Only you can decide if the intensity, duration, and content of their discussions is something you are uncomfortable with. The thing I find most concerning here is that she knows all your insecurities. Sure, he can have a close friend that he talks about his insecurities with, and even maybe some bumps in your relationship. But telling her personal things you've confided in him is not okay and a violation of your privacy. Completely agree. He totally disrespected my privacy. I have told him this and he thinks he will change, but that I have to trust him to make the change. You should articulate the extent to which the communication is actually affecting the relationship. If you just say it seems sus, then he can rightly point out, I should just trust him that nothing is ever going to happen between them, and that he won't keep telling her about our relationship difficulties, my insecurities. But if you can explain to him tangible effects his relationship with her is having on yours, then this becomes less about trust and insecurity and more about tangible issues that need to be addressed. Like, does he not spend as much time with you as you'd like because of how much he talks with her? Do you not feel like you're as close to him as you'd like to be because he won't discuss certain things with you, etc.? Basically, think about the issues in your relationship, and then have a discussion with him to figure out how to resolve those issues. Them being close isn't an issue in and of itself, but it's totally fair game to point out that the way they conduct their relationship is preventing you from having the relationship you want with him. You may also find that a lot of issues you blame on their friendship don't actually have anything to do with it and are just general couple issues you two need to work through, which may help you feel less insecure about how close they are. It's a tricky one. Are you actually just insecure? Because being anxiously attached can definitely play with your mind and twist things to support your anxious brain's stupid conclusions, and that is a you problem that you need to work on. On the other hand, there's probably some things that are valid boundaries to set, like not telling her about your insecurities. I guess the question is, does he make you feel secure, or is his actions not matching up with his words? Have you asked him if there's something going on, and has he given good reasons as to why they are not a thing? I have an anxious insecure attachment style, and something of a similar situation with my partner, only this girl is not his BFF. When I asked my partner about it, he admitted to me that was attracted to her about a year before we met, but that they had decided not to act on it. And then he gave me about 4 reasons why she was not a viable option for relationship. The most notable, they were incompatible in their conflict resolution styles, which made her not a viable long-term relationship option. That made me comfortable enough, And although I don't particularly like some things, still I know that's my own insecurities I need to set aside. But chief things to note is that my partner openly admitted his attraction. He didn't try to hide it from me, and his actions most of the time show me that I am the priority. I can't tell from what you wrote if this is the case for you or not, or if you have an anxious attachment, but that's what I would be looking to evaluate what you should do. Not judging, because an opposite-sex best friend is naturally hard to deal with, but what you've described, telling her personal things, video calling overseas, looking to her for advice when you guys struggle, is literally what a friendship is. Don't you tell your best friend things you don't tell your partner? Stay in touch with them a lot and ask them for advice. My best friend is a guy who, rather unfortunately, I did actually sleep with once, before we were friends and years before I met my fiancée. My FH really struggled with it at first, but over time he grew more secure in our relationship and realized that, while my friendship is relatively unusual, there's nothing to threaten him there. These things take time, but I believe that you'll get there. This girl isn't even in the same country, nothing can happen. 1.5 years is still fairly early days, and it's normal to feel jealous. You'll get there in the end, with your partner's openness, love and reassurance. If you don't, you either have a problem with irrational jealousy or a problem in your relationship. I hope your boyfriend understands and helps to get you guys where you need to be. Good luck. Girlfriend, 18F, thinks him, 23 meters, too quiet at her mother's house. I badly need advice. I'm a very quiet and introverted person around my GF's parents, and my GF is offended by how I don't talk enough. I explained to her I have PDD, sort of autism, and am simply quiet around groups of people, especially her parents, but she tells me to overcome my fears because her family means a lot to her and I just struggle. I'm scared she's trying to change me into someone I'm not. Her father I somewhat vibe with, if you will, but at her mother, they're divorced, whom she describes as strict on etiquette, and her stepfather with ADHD I struggle conversing with. I keep telling her people differ in energy and she says that's not to do with it. However, when I sent her an article I read on how to deal with introverted people, which I read to help myself, and sent to her to perhaps inspire her because I'm losing ability to express at this point, she got offended and then sent me an article on how to be more social, which felt totally out of touch. Finally she said she was just raised being taught that socialness equals polite and that it bothers her I was raised different. She also said she'll work on accepting I was raised different, but I don't think that's gonna make her accept my quiet nature. TL, Dr. GF sees my quietness as impolite and wants me to overcome it, even though I think big part of narrows down to my personality. It's possible to be social even as an introvert / but at the end of the day either your GF has to accept that you're not an extroverted, needs to talk all the time BF, or not. If you don't think she can get there, this relationship isn't going to last long. / introversion isn't a synonym for being shy or socially awkward or antisocial or otherwise being uninterested in conversation. It only means that, unlike extroversion, you don't get energized by talking and expressing yourself to others. There are social introverts who like to talk with all sorts of people, just in shorter bursts than extroverts, and shy extroverts who have trouble holding conversations with others. Instead of focusing on the introversion, maybe explain PPD to her, if that's what causes you to feel shy / anxious / uninterested in social situations, and send her some articles about that. If you work with a doctor or therapist to manage your symptoms, maybe bring her along one day so that a third party can explain to her that it's not something you just overcome just cause you love her, and she has to meet you halfway, i.e., you're not going to be coming up with witty conversation starters for 5 hours and she has to be okay with that. In the meantime, you can also meet her halfway by putting in some effort to socialize with her parents. You don't have to hold court for hours, but it shouldn't be a struggle to be able to hold a conversation with her mom at all, and your GF wouldn't be unreasonable to expect you to contribute to some portions of the conversation or to try and be at least a little social with her mom. If it's a struggle to chat with her mom for more than, like, 10 to 20 minutes in a 4-hour-long visit, you may want to reach out to a professional who can help you with strategies for being able to handle more social interaction.